Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you're doing really well. It's a bit of an impromptu live. Those of you who don't know me, I've got obvious evidence of international government fraud that's been going on for a very long time, and how it is tying into end time prophecies, into the Vatican, into what appears to be links to the true potential history of Christ in all of this, and where everything has gone wrong with humanity. It seems almost right from the start, as we're aware, but more evidence to support the chain of historical elements of what's happened and how the world has been potentially so corrupted. And I'll get into it in a minute. Hi Alison, hope you're okay. Hi Abby, hope you're well. I'm doing all right, thank you very much. It's just pretty overwhelming, to be honest with you, and so difficult to comprehend what I'm finding in all of this. It's pretty huge. So what our governments have been doing, just to recap, is they have been forging company incorporations with their registration and their incorporation documents, as well as there being no verification within the company's house records. Which means false names have been able to be used and false addresses, etc. And they've actually set up a fraudulent verification process since I've actually started exposing it from the beginning. For the first time since 1844, they set up some verification processes. But what they're doing is they're allowing secondary companies to verify the details of criminal organisations, and then they're the ones telling Companies House that they verified the details. So in other words, they really don't want to stop the money laundering system they have in place, the international government fraud, and all of the world's problems that this creates. Apart from them, of course, they seem to be the only ones, the very small number of people that are running our world and exploiting and victimising most people within humanity by this system of international government fraud. I've got around 50 police reports, might even be more now, I can't remember, I haven't quite counted them, there's a lot of them, all verified, or documents, that have reference numbers on them that I've secured, and all of the evidence contained within those police reports are, they contain evidence that can be verified, and the document as well has been, the main evidential research document that I've completed, or have previously done, has been sent to a specific police inspector at Bournemouth called Inspector Marcus McCorkle, who Dorset Police have confirmed in a phone call is a genuine officer. They're refusing to respond at all to the evidence. Now remember, this is verifiable, which means it can all be checked, prove that it's true, all right, and they are not responding. I've had no response from the phone call that I made to the police on the 12th of May 2026, and the bank's not even getting back to me. They're breaching their data, what's the act, under the Freedom of Information requests. They're not even responding. This is we're at the end, everybody, in terms of we're at the end of this reign of terror on earth, or crime on earth, and a lot of us haven't even realised what's been going on, because we haven't been, or we don't think we've been, directly affected by it, but every single one of us has. Even those of you, that just think your life's generally okay, but you've known inside something's not right, and you've wondered what is the purpose of why we're here. You've had these moments of feeling lost, I suppose is a good way to put it. This is it. This is the reason why, everybody. This absolutely is the reason why, because it's within your DNA, if you like, within your subconscious, you realise something's not right about how you're living and the world that you're living in, and it's because of this system of fraud and crime that I'm now uncovering with the help of others. And so obviously we're very close to the 12th now of August, and it's according to all of the evidence, a huge day in all of this. Whether this is a symbolic day of some sort of an ascension, some sort of intervention through the Creator, somehow I can't ignore the evidence in relation to the 12th of August. And it all stemmed from me. Thank you very much for your comment, Hi, Carla. I hope you're doing okay. Hi, Gray. I could contact, yeah, if you message me, send me a private message, I will try and respond to you on there. On here. So if you send a private message on here. So, there's, well, I can't remember what I was saying now. So there's so many things have happened to me over the last 4 years. You know, some of the stories I could tell of what's happened, it's just unreal. And the dreams I've had and where it's led to more evidence. Things I've had to go through to continue this. And it's been just an incredible journey for me. But incredibly challenging, of course, as well. Anyway, the 12th of August, I was originally aware of that only about a month ago or so, and something popped up on my TikTok live, my TikTok feed, about Project Anchor or Operation Anchor, and it's claimed to be a hoax, that the world will lose gravity, or whatever you want to call that our feet keeping us on the ground is, if you don't want to call it gravity, is going to be lost for 7 seconds. Supposedly, the speculation is, the hoax is, that two black holes collided, and the ripples from those black holes are going to cancel out the gravity, or whatever you want to call it, on Earth. Now, the first time that two black holes were, according to the information, were found to have collided was in 2015 on the, always get the date mixed up, the 14th, I think, of September 2015. That is the date of the birthday of Contact A, okay, in Melbourne, who has been in contact with me since the end of May. She is, for whatever reason, well, I think we get an idea why, very, very important in all of this. There's other key dates tying in with her date of birth in this, and specifically that is very important, but also, and I'll come back to that in a minute, also the date of the company change of name, the only time that it ever changed, of MK Limited, which is the company where I identified the links to the 13th century Knights Templar location, my former school, a Waterman offshore company with loads of addresses within it around where I've been living where I was brought up in my life, that leads to, it connects also immediately into a Masonic lodge in Gillingham, and it also then goes to Olympic Games companies and World Cup football companies. You also have high-profile footballers, companies such as David Beckham Limited. This is coming in from my former school, and there's over 5 million registered companies, and this is through people as well. And there's multi-millions of people on the records of Companies House. So there is no coincidence in these practically immediate connections from my school, etc., to the Waterman Offshore Company. Now, this 13th century Knights Templar location is incredibly important in all of this. This is a location called Temple Manor in Strood in Kent. You can go and look at it. And it was originally a bit of land that was acquired in the 1159, I think, or 39, something like that. And then it was sold to the Knights. The building was built. The land was sold to the Knights Templar, and the building was started to be built, I believe, in 1240, I think. And anyway, they've created a company on Companies House via that building, Temple Manor, and within there it goes to the Flemings very, very quickly. And the Flemings are those that are involved in the James Bond movies. So Ian Fleming wrote the James Bond books, and they then led to the movies. And the Flemings were the ones that initiated my removal from Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited after I continuously refused to file forged bank documents. So obviously this is very significant, because they were involved in meetings, and Deborah Fleming retired from the NHS as a chief executive on the 31st of March 2022. So this was as I was making early inquiries at Exbourne Manor, and then she became involved in the meetings, and it was her that actually initiated the removal of me as a director for refusing to file the forged bank documents. and I'll come back to the black holes in a minute. The forged bank documents that I acquired via my investigation were, it seems, being created by somebody on the Treasury Department of Lloyd's Bank. And a member of the Fleming family had married a member of a Lloyd family in the 1920s, and that Lloyd person was called Edward Lloyd, and Edward Lloyd is the same name as the person that created the Varney the Vampire character and also the Sweeney Todd character. And Varney the Vampire, with that character, they didn't know whether to make it a human that just drinks blood or consumes blood, or turn them into like a bat symbol. So they decided to make them into like a bat with fangs and wings. And I think this is linking in with real vampirism, because that character talks about, I mean, there's loads of reasons I'm saying this, but the character loathed their lives, and they actually ended up committing suicide. And the blood connections all the way through the research that I've done cannot be ignored. There's links into criminal bloodstock companies. Some of those bloodstock companies link straight to Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited, which is where there's also a company called Tramp to Vamp, VAMP, that was incorporated 2 days after the World Trade Center disaster on the 13th of September 2001. And I found, and it's got the same companies on the incorporation document as Exmoor Manor Freehold Limited. And I found that company coming in from the illegal organ harvesting. In other words, forged companies linking to the NHS, tying in with the organ harvesting. Okay, and I came across that Tramp to Vamp company. Anyway, loads of evidence in relation to the crimes against the children and how that ties into the blood. But going back to the black holes, so they discovered that these black holes collided for the first time on the 14th of September 2015. That's the same year that the climate change agenda really began with the Paris Accord, or whatever you want to call it in Paris. Which started leading towards the move to it was where the 2030 agenda actually stemmed from, was from 2015. And so they measured, according to the information, the ripple from these black holes coming to Earth for those first two black holes. Well, there's another article that claims there were two other black holes that collided in 2023. But the article came out in 2026 this year. But they claim that these two black holes that collided should not have even existed. So it's outside of their understanding of space, matter and time. So it potentially sets up a symbolic or a physical real creator agenda surrounding those two black holes. Anyway, like I said, 2015, that first discovery of the two black holes was on the same date as Contact A was born, the same month and the same year. Now, she was born according to, and I've actually seen her driving license and identification, but of course it could have been falsified. However, I've seen a picture and I know it's the same person because I've done live video calls with this person, and the driving license says that they were born on, then I wouldn't normally disclose people's dates of birth, but at the end of the day, you know, we're talking about the end of all of creation and all of this. There has to be complete full disclosure in all of this. And it states the 14th of September 1977. So this is not long before my birthday, and also that's the same year when I was born, and also that's the same year that Star Wars The New Hope came out. And you're starting to see the evidence, if you watch my TikTok, of how it appears I'm actually linking in with Harrison Ford, who was in the Star Wars movie that year playing Han Solo. And both my mum via her employee and my dad via his accountant are linked into Hollywood, massively into Hollywood. Not that their careers or anything to do with Hollywood, but via these individuals in their lives, you have immediate links into Hollywood. So for my mum, for example, links into Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott's brother Tony was born in Chatham, which is where I was born, and he committed suicide in 2012, according to the information. Coming in from my dad's, from the accountant, you hit major Hollywood companies, okay, including Eon Productions. Eon Productions was the main company involved in the James Bond movies. Now, my dad was 3.5 hours away from Dorset, where I moved in 2006, knowing nobody whatsoever, and I was led to believe that they were all independent from the areas that I was living. It turns out that the 3 families in my life are all implicated in this criminal network. I'm not saying everybody within those families, but there are people within all 3 of my families. So that is the family I grew up with in Kent, and then I moved in 2006 to transfer from Kent Police to Dorset, and I then married into, it was a staged introduction first of all to Lisa Morton, okay, in 2007, and they staged that introduction. This was now obvious, and they also staged my introduction to Exbourne Manor, where I ended up buying the property. Of course, I knew nothing about what I'm now telling you about at that point. This was somebody that befriended me within the police squad that I was on. It was called H Squad. There might be relevance in why it's called H Squad now, actually. And that person was called Jock Condon, and they told me about this property that was for sale in Exbourne Manor, because I was renting for around a year prior to me moving into Exbourne Manor. And my sergeant introduced me to my wife the same year on when she came out as an observer on patrol with us, and that's how I ended up getting with my wife. And we then married in April, which again, very likely, I think it was the 15th of April, and that was 4 days after 2019, 4 days after Julian Assange was arrested. And Julian Assange is linked to all 3 of my families, and a doomsday cult which links to the Association of Chief Police Officers of the United Kingdom, that was originally founded in 1948, the year after the doomsday clock began, and the same year that the NHS, where Deborah Fleming had been working, was actually founded. Anyway, so the 12th of August, so apparently, according to this hoax, 7 seconds of gravity is going to be lost. Now, of course, I've had to think, well, is this something to do with a rapture event? Many Christians believe that at some point there will be a rapture, which is where those that deserve to be, or I think they class it as God's church or Jesus' church, will be lifted from the earth, whether that is spiritually or physically. Some people believe it's physically, lifted from the earth, to be saved from a tribulation event that may follow on that earth. And when I mean tribulation, I mean potentially catastrophic tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes, etc., and weather anomalies on earth, which will mean they have to live without the normal amenities that they have been living with all of their lives. So it will be, if it happens, a very difficult time. So obviously I've had to consider this rapture. Is this 12th of August tying in with the rapture somehow? Because the loss of gravity would, of course, in theory, or the loss of whatever is holding us down, would in theory mean that we wouldn't be held down. Now, the BBC have brought out a series called Rapture that ends today, actually. I think it's the 9th today, isn't it? Or was it the 10th? If it's the 9th today, then that series ends today, called The Rapture. And the evidence going in from the people linked into that series connect to the research of the end of the world Iona prophecy, all right, which is St. Columbus, who was exiled, according to the prophecy, exiled from Ireland to an island called, from Ireland itself to an island called Iona off the west coast of Scotland. And it talks about the end of the world through a beam of light appearing somewhere in relation to that island. That Iona end of the world prophecy connects to the Rapture BBC employees surrounding the Rapture series that's ending today. And the Iona end of the world prophecy connects immediately to me via the office, which is a security office on my patch in the Avenue Centre off of Commercial Road in Bournemouth Town Centre, where I was working when I was the only beat officer for that area. And a beat officer is, or a community bobby, if you like. So that was my sort of patch that I had for 2 or 3 years. No, it was longer than that. About 2008. No, it was about 2 or 3 years, I think, around that time. And this was around the time that I had passed my sergeant's exams, and I was able to be an acting sergeant, which meant I was able to supervise groups of police officers. Anyway, so this comes from the end of the world Iona prophecy. You hit loads of Fleming companies. There's loads of BlackRock companies. Many of you have heard of BlackRock. I'm sure one of the, if not, I think it's the biggest asset management company on earth. And it was multi-trillions of pounds of funding money is tied up in relation to that company. So I think the fact they've called it BlackRock and it's so relevant is obviously very, very important, because this is always tied into end of time prophecies, etc. Anyway, you then have lots of Fleming companies via JP Morgan, and then it connects, as I've said, to the security office on my patch in Bournemouth, where I was working in the police. So obviously I can't ignore all of this, and there's loads more about the 12. You know, you've now got, it seems, references with Skyfall, the song by Adele in 2012, which is the year of the Olympic Games here in the United Kingdom, and where they held the water sports element of that, part of that, at Weymouth in Dorset. Okay, that's all deliberate, everybody. And this is when Daniel Craig jumped from, not Daniel Craig, but they set up, obviously making it look like the Queen and Daniel Craig, I think, I can't remember if it was both of them, jumped from a helicopter into the stadium at the Olympic Games. Now, my brother-in-law was working at the site of the Olympic Games as well, which I haven't actually disclosed publicly before. He was his original trade was a fencer. His company connects immediately to Exbourne Manor Freehold Limited. Never told me. For years, I knew him, obviously. He was my sister's husband. Never told me they had the exact same person as a management agent for Exbourne Manor linked to their family companies. All right, and they're linked to the main Freemason Lodge and to Jimmy Savile. Anyway, 2012 is obviously the same year that the Mayan calendar ended, on the 21st of December that year, and it's when CERN claimed to have discovered the God particle on the 4th of July that year in 2012. Anyway, where was I going with that? So, yeah, the movie, the song Skyfall, okay, is very relevant, and the research from Adele goes straight into everything as well. She's linking into the evidence of the Church of Satan almost immediately from the research. There's loads of links into Satanism, into the blood of the children, from multiple angles now. And the movie, the song starts with "This is the end." Okay, if you go and listen to Skyfall, you'll see the very first words are "This is the end," and then it talks about the earth moving, it talks about the poles and all sorts. Anyway, you've also got the 7 Seconds song by Nana Cherry, which came out in 1994, which is a key time in the international government fraud, the year before they created the Hackler International Advisory Board, which links to the intelligence agencies, to the Russian government. And also it's shown on page 40 of the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which connects to me via Ingenious Film Partners 2, and because Ingenious Film Partners 2 connects to people that I grew up with immediately, specifically, and it actually goes back and makes the connection in to the 13th century Knights Templar and my former school, but via my former friend, whose previous name was Emma Lee, and she lived on the Isle of Wight prior to moving to Kent and ended up marrying one of my best friends, Daniel Ayling, and she changed, so her name was Emma Lee. She then changed it to Emma Ayling, obviously, when she was married. Well, Lee is the same name as the Cray twins' mother, okay, and the Cray twins linked to my family. All right, the Cray twins, it seems, are tied in to international crime. Of course, you'll all be aware of the criminal networks involving the Crays, but they're also linking into the Italian mafia, and the information, I believe, is that the Vatican directed the Italian mafia to instruct the Cray twins in relation to the prophecies in all of this and how it ties into the international government fraud. Now, Emma had worked on the Isle of Wight, lived on the Isle of Wight, as I've said before. This is where David Icke lives, I still believe, and he was the one that came out in 1991 and said the world will be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. He's linked to the intelligence agencies into what appears to be drug trafficking companies, and he refused to interview me prior to me knowing all of this. I had an interview with his son Gareth for about 15 minutes. It was very, very rushed. Requested an interview with David, and they refused. Anyway, he's linked into the intelligence agencies from at least 2 different angles, as I've said, into what appears to be international drug trafficking referenced companies, Opium UK Limited, there's also Paranoid UK, and there is some other references to companies such as Hydroponics, I believe. I haven't got it in front of me, but I think it's Hydroponics. Anyway, he also links, as I've said, very quickly to the Hackler International Advisory Board company, which is the company that links to me. And remember, as I've said, Ingenious Film Partners 2 is shown on page 40 of the incorporation document of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. The Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was incorporated on the 29th of September 2009. Please go and check this if you don't believe me, and then look at when the CERN was founded. Exactly the same day, 55 years earlier. Okay, so CERN is the company that deals with the Large Hadron Collider. Okay, which is the Geneva Large Hadron Collider, and there are other colliders supposedly. Of course, they may not be real. They may not be real, and this all could be part of a massive deception. However, at the moment, I have to perceive the threats to be real, to tell or advise what I think humanity needs to do to help themselves. Anyway, 7 seconds came out. Nana Cherry links almost immediately into the research had already acquired regarding the Israel attacks of 2023. So those attacks supposedly happened on the 7th of October, as I was continuing to expose my fraud, leading up to my birthday, okay, which is on the 28th of October. And then in between that and the 26th of October, which I'll come to in a minute, there was an interview with Youssef, can't remember his surname, and Piers Morgan. And they were talking about the attacks in Israel, and the research from both of them goes straight into everything. All right, so it was all a massive deception. They were basically arguing, or not arguing, but it was a bit of a heated exchange in relation to the Israel attacks and what it was all about. All part of the deception, I believe in this. Possibly those attacks were all fictional. Possibly. Somebody actually told me, I haven't seen it, but somebody told me they've seen a video about the attacks in Israel, and there was speculation and fairly good evidence that it was all artificial intelligence and actors and special effects, etc. Now, the deception is so vast, we do have to consider that things like that have been happening as part of the deceit against all of humanity. It's completely satanic, completely evil. The whole thing about this system we're living under is deception, lies, well, I won't say lies, deception, forgery, which is a lie, isn't it, really? Dishonesty, let's say dishonesty. And you've been completely hoodwinked for your entire lives, everybody. It's almost certain that we've never left the Earth's atmosphere, which is now I'm going to be careful about what I say in relation to this, but the information surrounding a firmament, I'm still not sure about it. It could be part of a deception to confuse me, to stop me determining what I need to advise people to do. So the Israel attacks happened on the 7th of October. Between then and the 26th is when this interview occurred on Piers Morgan. It got 23 million views, I think, both connected into the International Criminal Network via my research. And on the 26th of October, 2 days before my birthday, everybody, that's not a coincidence, in that year, 2023, is when Companies House publicised they were going to be verifying some details for the first time since 1844. Sorry, since 1844, yeah. First time they were going to be verifying some details, not all of them, which meant they would be selective on who they could allow to be using this international government fraud. Now, Companies House began, I'll get back to the black hole and the 12th in a minute. Whilst I'm thinking about it, Companies House began in 1844, as I've said. That's the same year that the Young Men's Christian Association began, YMCA. And that was founded exactly 100 years to the day before the D-Day landings in Normandy. All right, this is no coincidence, everybody. D-Day is now almost guaranteed to have represented Doomsday in all of this, and how it ties in with me and the Doomsday Clock. Now, the Operation Overlord leading to the Normandy D-Day landings actually started 2,000 years to the day that Julius Caesar had been assassinated in 44 BC. That all ties into the evidence. It's all connected into Rome, going right back to Jesus's persecution. You had Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC, supposedly, according to the information. Could be false, but that's what they're telling us. And his nephew, or great nephew, I can't remember which one, took over his wealth. Okay, and that was Augustus Octavius, I think his name was. Anyway, so Nana Cherry links to the Israel attacks of 2023 via the Nova Music Festival research that I've already done. When you come in from that, you hit the Spice Girls, David Beckham connections again, and loads of other links in there. You make a connection in then to the Canary Wharf building in quite a significant way. The Canary Wharf building had a pyramid on top, right? This all ties in with Egyptology connections and alignments to the stars and stuff like that, all tying in with me now. Anyway, the Canary Wharf was built in 1990 to, oh sorry, not, it might have been 1989, I can't remember, it was either 1989, 1990, whilst Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister. That building links into the research, as I said, from the Israel attacks 2023, and a big section of that building, or big share of that building, is owned by the leader of Qatar. Okay, Q. Interesting, isn't it? Q at the beginning, possibly linking with QAnon and all of this. Anyway, the leader of Qatar was educated in Sherborne in Dorset. And Sherborne is very, very important in all of this. Okay, it links to my wife's former employee, Charles Sherwin, who was a dentist in Sherborne, and his wife was an oncologist doctor. I think it was an oncology doctor at Southampton Hospital, which it would have linked in with Deborah Fleming, who initiated my removal. She was the NHS chief executive for Hampshire, Isle of Wight and Dorset, which would include Southampton. Anyway, coming in from the research of Charles Sherwin, you immediately, I think it's straight away, you hit Virgin companies as in Richard Branson and the Virgin Organisation. Sorry, I will come to the questions in a minute. Richard Branson, as you know, had an island in the Virgin Islands, I believe, and so did Jeffrey Epstein. I think it was all the British Virgin Islands, which is the Virgin Islands. Jeffrey Epstein had an island as well. And when you come in from, I'm trying to stick to not get too far away. I'll just mention it quickly. So the research surrounding me, tying into the ancient burial chambers via the Company's House records and other research in Wales, in Pembrokeshire, ties into St David's Cathedral, which is a wonderful cathedral. I've been there many, many times because my nan was actually born in Pembrokeshire, so I went there many times when I was a child. And St David's Cathedral connects to the Virgin Foundation companies immediately via the Company's House records. Not only that, but there is Hillary Clinton's name attached. Now, Hillary Clinton links to the Pizzagate scandal from 2016, when it was being exposed that potentially, I'm not saying this is 100% it happened, but the information was that Hillary Clinton was with others when they were involved in children or young people. I think they were children, certainly young people, being taken into a basement of eateries within America and being put on ping pong tables, table tennis tables, where they were abused, tortured, and then unalived. I've spoken to people that have seen the Fragile Drip video that claims it's the worst thing they've ever seen, and it shows apparently somebody being skinned alive. Now, anyway, that links immediately to the Virgin Foundation from Hillary Clinton. She also connects into this research of St David's Cathedral in Pembrokeshire in Wales, which is linking into a church and a bleeding yew tree, and also references to the True Cross and evidence that I've found tying into the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, Adam and Eve, and references to Christ. Now, of course, they staged my introduction to Exbourne Manor, which means they staged me being connected to Jimmy Savile. And the operation in relation to his investigation was Operation Yew Tree. Now, in this church connected to St David's Cathedral on a pilgrimage route in Wales, in Pembrokeshire, where my nan was born, where I went many, many times when I was a child, has a bleeding yew tree, okay, as well as loads of other evidence surrounding it. It connects straight to the ancient burial chamber, which I have been speaking about, which links to the Freemasons, straight to the Flemings again. All right, remember the Flemings, the ones involved in Exbourne Manor. This is from the burial chamber, linked to the church, which is linked to St David's Cathedral, okay, in Wales. And straight to the Freemasons, straight to the Flemings, and there's straight to Julian Assange and an ISIS reference company connected to his name, okay? And he's linked to all three of my families, which means they're all linked into the burial chamber and the main Freemason lodge, and the references and the connection to Christ in all of this. Now, the same year that I was exposing the fraud, in 2023, the Pope gave Charles, remember he was the Prince of Wales. Wales is where Companies House began, and Companies House is the company that's creating the criminal companies that are now centralised to this fraud and the blood of the children and have been running the world's system. Trevor Meelam's on here, massively implicated in the international government fraud. He links into the blood of the children as well via the research. He was initially... It was my father-in-law that directed me to him initially under the Transparency Task Force, where he was working with David Laity and one of the former police crime commissioners, forgotten his name now, Anthony Stansfield. The police and crime commissioners are connected to Jimmy Savile, to the blood of the children, to the international government fraud, and also into the Collider technology. Okay, Trevor Meelam is on here at the moment. Well, someone claiming to be Trevor Meelam anyway, at least. So this all ties in now to the evidence of Christ. So if we go back to, where was I going to go with that? So the 12th of August. So the Collider technology is hugely connected. Let me just block Trevor. He probably won't even block him because he's so compromised. He's working with the Freemasons. Let me just block him. So I went to Trevor's saying I'm a Freemason. Yeah, of course I am, Trevor. That's why I'm saying they all need to be arrested. You're a liar. So you can't be trusted. So I blocked Trevor. He wants to come on and talk. I don't talk to people that facilitate the crimes against children. Well, you've had your chance, Trevor. So this gravity loss, there's far too much evidence to completely state that there's no risks, that there's no relevance to it. The date becomes very relevant in itself. It's the date, same date. The 12th of August is the date that Ian Fleming died. Okay, remember I've already said to you the relevance of Ian Fleming. It's also the date that Cleopatra died, who was the wife of, or certainly I think it was Augustus Octavius, but somebody going back to Julius Caesar's time. All right, both of those connections, so the Flemings and Cleopatra, has been linked to the research of the ancient burial chambers in Wales that I've just told you about. Okay, via the research from those chambers. Okay, so you have these connections coming in, far too many to be a coincidence, everybody, and all of the evidence is verifiable. Let me just go back to that. So what happened in the 12th of August back in 1 AD, that was the middle of the time. Sorry, not 1 AD, 7 AD. It was a key. I haven't got it in front of me, actually, so it's probably best I don't talk about it because I'm probably not going to say that right. But it becomes relevant, the date of the 12th of August, going back to 2,000 years before, and also into 7 AD, which is 007. All right, 7 AD, 007. So that's what I was going to say. So the Collider technology is massively linked into and is involved in magnetism. Okay, electromagnets if you like, or electromagnetism, whatever the word is. There's a word I'm trying to think of, and it's gone. But if you go and research, you'll see there's an article that claims that the CMS part of the Large Hadron Collider has the ability to create an electromagnetic field 100,000 times the power of the entire Earth. All right, now, of course, this all could be false information for my benefit because of who I am to identify it, find the connections going back in history to the bloodlines, etc. But, you know, at the moment, I still need to consider that there could be a threat to everybody. So why would you need technology to create a magnetic field 100,000 times more than the Earth? Now, of course, one of the things I've had to consider is this information only being fed to me? Am I the only one able to see a lot of this evidence, but I am being told and other people are sharing the evidence suggesting that is not the case, and therefore it cannot be a case that this has all been set up as a massive deception specifically just for me. It tells us that I am going to be very relevant because it seems like I am the only one that's able to find the evidence on Earth joining all of these things together and is willing to do the right thing and is not compromised by it and is actually trying to prevent it and change Earth forever and bring about a new system for all of humanity. So this magnetism, okay, so also the cell towers are electromagnetic. Yeah, so Trevor Meelan is blocked and yet he's still able to comment, everybody. So that tells you he is compromised. So I'm just going to screenshot that to confirm it. So this means those behind the criminal network are allowing him to still have access even though he's been blocked. Okay, because I've blocked him. This is what they do. Let me just screenshot so I've got that. Okay, confirm blocking. Right. I've just tried blocking him again. Let's see what happens. Anyway, I'll come to the questions. Sorry, Gary, is David Icke of the elite bloodline? I have no idea, but he is definitely part of the deception against all of humanity, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Thanks, Vanessa. Yeah, found out about, or helped find evidence to support Vanessa's concerns and what happened to her in her life. So, the cell towers are also electromagnetic. All right, so there's magnets, connections to the collider technology and also to the cell towers. Now, obviously, magnetism is obviously linked into attracting two items together or pushing two items away. We all know, don't we, what you do when you have two magnets? You have opposing forces and you have connecting forces. So there's a magnetism connection into this technology, and CERN was actually involved in creating the technology for the cell towers. So of course now we have to consider, what if there's some sort of magnetism link to what is happening, or the evidence of the 12th of August? Now we have to consider, what about the metal we're being led to believe maybe being consumed by humans by them putting it within the food chain and within the air? And we've all heard, haven't we, claims that barium and other metals are being sprayed from the sky. So I've done a little bit of research surrounding this today, and it turns out that barium in its normal form is not very magnetic, but there's another element of barium which is extremely magnetic, and they use it to make magnets. That's how massively relevant barium is. Okay, the main barium company that produces most of the barium links to JP Morgan, I found out today, which means it links to the Flemings. Okay, now if you had, which there's overwhelming evidence to support that there is satanic elements in what's going on in the world. So Satanism, you've got links to the Church of Satan, tying into the blood of the children, and you've got the Albert Pike letter, which was a letter written, according to the information, was a letter written to Mazzini, the head of the Illuminati, in 1871, setting out a 3 World War deception to destroy Christianity. This is really important. Destroy Christianity, destroy the Muslim faith, destroy atheism, and bring about the light of Lucifer. Now, if you were very, very evil and sinister, and you wanted to destroy Christians, all right, to facilitate the destruction of Christianity, you would consider setting up a false event where Christians believe they're going to be saved, where actually they are not saved, and they end up losing their life. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying these are the things I've had to consider with this. So in theory, if you were very evil and you wanted to set up a false event and you wanted to destroy Christians to facilitate the destruction of Christianity, and of course anyone that saw Christians dying for something that they believed was going to be happening that was actually the Creator, then it would destroy the faith in the Creator even more, wouldn't it? It would separate humanity from the Creator, which is exactly what Satanism and the Church of Satan and people linked into the Satanic Temple, such as Trevor Meehan, would want people and want to happen. So, I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is one of the things I've been thinking about now, because obviously I've been saying, people, if something physical happens to you on the 12th of August and you start lifting from the ground, if it's a big if I'm just giving you the considerations in this. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. It could be a symbolic event in all of this. But if you do, I've been saying that people should just let go and pray that it is a real tribulation event on earth. However, the evidence that I'm finding now, we have to consider, what if they're using this magnetism and this metal within the bodies somehow to falsify a rapture event to get rid of Christians? Because a lot of Christians believe they can't wait for the day when they're going to be lifted off of the earth and they're going to be raised up by Christ, saved from a tribulation event. But of course, if it's a false event and the gravity is returned after 7 seconds and there is no salvation through a rapture by Christ, then lots of people may be falling to the earth and dying, if that happens. If that happens, everybody. So I really don't want, in answer to what I'm trying to say here, I'm really not too sure what to advise you what to do on the 12th if something physical starts happening. I suspect it won't, and it is a symbolic event of some sort of an ascension or return through the evidence, or a catalyst to the truth through the evidence that I've exposed. So I think you're just going to have to make your own decision if something happens to you on that day, on what you do, whether you let go or whether you hold on, because it determines if there's going to be a tribulation event afterwards on earth, and if that's a creator event or not. So, right, let me come to the questions. Sorry, I've been ignoring the questions. Someone said block at Pakistan. Okay, I'll have a little look when I come to them. Someone's put, we aren't in a cost of living crisis yet. Still plenty of money around, and that's just working class. I'm not too sure why you may be responding to somebody else. We're talking much bigger things here. We need to obviously prevent any risk to children and to humanity and creation. Gary, is David Icke part of the bloodline? I've mentioned that. I've opened that. Gary, you definitely found out about my... Oh yeah, I answered that. So I'm just trying to go through the comments. You should let them reveal themselves. Best to find venomous snake with your... Oh dear. The frequency alone is all they need, Michelle's put. Anne's put, you are not the only one. People from South Africa is doing the same work like you are. If they're not exposing the company's house fraud, which also links to Africa, do not trust them. Right? Nobody can be trusted unless they're exposing the international government fraud, everybody. Right? Nobody can be trusted until they're exposing it. Let's go to the next comments. Gary, we want to ask you questions. Yeah, you can. I'm just coming through the comments now. So if you've got any questions, put them on the comments. Hopefully I will get to your questions. Imposter families are real, question mark. Someone's put, yeah, absolutely. Everyone or most people around me in my life, my friends and my family, I've already got the evidence connected into this. So they position them all around me, but they haven't actually involved me in what they're part of, which suggests they knew something about me and they were trying to keep me neutral and, get me making my own free will as to how I deal with all of this. So I'm not compromised in any way. Could be using his wife's phone, not too sure. Yeah, that might not have been Trevor Meelan, because I know that they can easily just generate, it probably was, but they can generate usernames easily. Doesn't unders and electromagnetic. Doesn't unders and electromagnetic. I'm not sure what that means. Can I ask you a question, Gary? Yes, you can. Thank you. I was ridiculed for a long time. I wondered if he was part of them or not. Yeah, David Icke is 100% part of whatever is going on. He's not telling you the whole story. He's part of the deception. Anyone that's not coming out with the full truth in all of this, and sorry, he's linked into the intelligence agencies as well, which are massively implicated in this. He clearly can't be trusted. How can you not expect hell forever if you don't believe in your creator? Pakistan has put. We've also got to remember, though, Pakistan, that to me it's obvious there's a creator. However, the system has been set up to stop people believing. Right? Remember, you've got Satanism, the Church of Satan involved in this. What they want is to turn everybody away from the creator, or they're setting up a massive deception for me to think that through the evidence to actually turn everybody back to the creator, and then me becoming somebody relevant in this. Cell towers are weaponized, SW has put. Thank you very much. Hi Gary, we might try. Rolly's put. We might Rolly. We might try using a new user ID. Okay. There are no heroes on the world stage. Someone's put. It's a dog-eat-dog world that we live in. Every man, woman for themselves. No, you are sounding quite compromised, aren't you, Moonlight UK? Someone's already said to block you. Well, look, I'm not out for myself, so there you go. That's not every man, woman out for themselves. If I was out for myself, okay, then I would have approached these people and said, look, I know what you're part of. Give me some money and I will be quiet. All right? It doesn't matter how much money they offer me. Nothing will stop me from continuing to expose this other than my death. Okay, so that's not true, what you've just said. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Chemtrails out in full force today, someone's put. You still haven't, you put, can I ask you a question, Moonlight, and you haven't answered any. So far, I haven't seen any question from you, but I'm obviously a bit behind on the comments. You put loads of other things other than the questions. They are, I have pictures. Someone's put, all, thanks Poppy, all women's periods have been affected this year. Interesting, okay. More so than normal. Because of, well, you've got, don't forget, on the 12th of August, you've also got, which is 2 days away, not only have you got this conspiracy, you've got the meteor shower, okay, which is going to peak on the 13th, I believe. But on the 12th, you've also got a 6-planet alignment, and you've got a full total solar eclipse, according to what they're telling us anyway. And it's one of the biggest solar eclipse in a long time in terms of the locations of where it's going to be falling upon that hasn't had it for a very long time. You've also got, this was the thing I was going to say earlier, just, sorry. Just get comfortable. The light is getting very dark now, so you're not going to be able to see me for much longer. I won't stay on for a lot longer. Let me just skip through the questions, because I don't want to say I'm going to answer questions and then I'm not. We're controlled by non-human entities. I don't believe that's the case, Apple. Well, I suspect it's not the case. I've got even more evidence now supporting that is a lie. So you've got an article where they tried, it seems, getting me to believe that vampirism is linked into a period before humanity even existed, tying in with the Black Sun. Well, that means you're talking about another life, an alien life force. However, the articles that created that are linked straight into the NHS, into the criminal network. I've got more evidence now confirming that's the case. So this tells us that they're so worried about the exposure of the blood of the children. What they're trying to do is link the blood of the children to the alien deception. Even more now, I've got evidence to support that. Just have a look at the comments. Nothing can stop Islam, someone's put. Everything made up. We're on a space ball, someone's put. Hi, Indigo. Hope you're doing okay. Hi, Vanessa, as well. I'm not too sure. I've read your comments. I don't know if I said hi, Vanessa. His vow for Christian land and religion, someone's put. His vow for Christian land and religion. They still need their slaves to tidy up the mess. It's a slow burn, soft reset, someone's put. Thank you very much for your comment, Moonlight. There's no way out for them. Yeah, I think the only way out is to convince everybody that there's aliens, to be honest with you. Even they're going to struggle with that. It's very possible they're going to be trying to go into their tunnel systems. I believe the tunnel system is going to flood, and they're all going to be. And this actually could be something to do with people within the system that are setting that up to happen. But of course, what they want us to believe is that they are no longer a threat, and they are potentially no longer here, and therefore they can go and hide away. And then, when the time is right for them, in however many years, they can then encroach on humanity again and encroach with their evil system and the blood of the children again. All right, whereas if I have anything to do with it, will make sure it will never, ever happen again. All right, through a transparent system, which means it'll be very difficult for it to happen again. They're not culling us all, that's what I mean, someone's put. Okay. If the angel Israel comes to take your soul tonight, Gary, what use is... What does that say? Aphthis. Oh, all this. What use is all this? Well, at the end of the day, I'm being guided by my moral conscience, Pakistan. I'm just doing what I believe is right in all of this. If there's any risk to children and humanity and creation, and I think I have the answer to preventing that risk, then I need to be fighting for that and doing what I can. Same with a fake comet called Ison heading to Earth, September 2012. Thanks, Poppy. Yeah, I believe all mass extinction level events that they claim have happened previously have all been a lie. I've got evidence to support that, including I don't believe the dinosaurs existed. Now this could have been, I was having a discussion, this could have been to try and convince you that there is no firmament, that we're at risk of future comets. But of course, what this does is this also sets up the ability for an alien deception, right? Because if we cannot leave, I'm not saying we can't, what I can tell you is the evidence around the firmament that I'm finding cannot be ignored. It cannot be ignored. I definitely don't think they went to the moon. All right, definitely. There's too much evidence to suggest they didn't go to the moon. So, of course, if they make you believe that asteroids have hit the Earth previously and they might hit the Earth in future, then that then sets up the ability that they can set up a false deception surrounding aliens to make us believe they've left the Earth and they are no longer a threat. All right. Also, these space explorations, the projects, gives the ability to launder vast amounts of money through those space projects. I've already researched NASA, massively linked into the criminal network. And what is NASA stand for, or what is the anagram? Minus a T. T minus, which is what they say, isn't it, for the countdown, T minus, whatever. Okay, well, NASA is an anagram for Satan. What is Satan? Deception. Lies, deception, fraud. When was NASA set up? 1958. What else happened in 1958? Charles was initiated to become the Prince of Wales. Charles is linked to me via the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales. He's linked to the Flemings. He's linked to all of the evidence that I'm exposing. Remember, the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales was actually incorporated on the exact day, 55 years after CERN was founded, on the 29th of September 2000 and, or forgotten the year it was founded now, 2009. Okay, which is just over 2 weeks after I became a director of Export Manor Freehold Limited. So it looks as though they timed it all around me after the introduction into Export Manor. When I was becoming a director, they then created this company. It's linked to me. What else was I going to say about what you've just put? Something else I was going to say. It's gone out of my head. Something really important I was about to say. It's completely gone. Oh, Satan. Yeah, and then when did the moon landing happen? It happened in 1969, the year that Charles became the Prince of Wales, which is where, remember, Companies House had been based. All right? Remember, Companies House is the organisation, the government organisation that has been creating the criminal entity companies that are now manipulating and exploiting and victimising most of humanity in relation to the blood of the children, according to all of the evidence, and even an end of creation event potentially. Yes, Satan also links into Christmas, another deception. So you've all been led to believe that you should be celebrating this day, telling your children that somebody exists, telling them to never lie to you, and then years later telling them you've been lying to them. All right, it's a complete and utter satanic agenda. All right, setting your children up to fail, confusing them right from the outset when they're a child, and also teaching them materialism. Materialism will end all of destruction. This need, or them making us believe that we need more materialism, bigger house, bigger car, faster car, more materialistic objects for us to be fulfilled, when actually, when you come close to the Creator through your moral conscience, that is when you are fulfilled, and you realize how incredible nature is, and you value nature, you value animals, you value everything, and you start to then value yourself through that moral conscience, because you don't slip into sin or what you know to be wrong, because you have that as your foundation. And this whole system appears to have been set up to remove rationality and clarity, whether it's through drugs, alcohol, you having to work too hard when you shouldn't be, where you're tired, poisoning, contaminating you, radiation, which means you then act in a way that you wouldn't normally. You step away from your rationality, from your clarity, from the moral conscience, from the Creator, and then you feel bad about yourself afterwards. Right? So it's a self-destructive, prophetic design within the system. Okay, because of the transparency is not there. It's a problem, reaction, solution criminal network. So all of the time there are problems, they exploit and victimize humanity through those problems. Right? So, and this system, because they're creating not only the problems, but also the resolutions for those problems, this is how they exploit everybody through it. You see, problem, reaction, solution criminal network. So this system must change. As soon as that system changes and you remove the motive for the deception, for the lies, all right, then you have leadership that is in place that actually wants to stop the problems and actually safeguard humanity, safeguard children, and ensure that there is equality, fairness, no disparity between the rich and poor throughout the entire human race, no matter what colour skin somebody's got, no matter what their culture is, We're all brothers and sisters of the human race here, and we have all been deceived by the system. The system must change, everybody. Anna's put, they are trying to get rid of Christians. Someone said, yes, that's certainly what they're wanting us to believe. You know, they're wanting us to believe that Christians are dying. They're wanting us to believe that the Albert Pike letter is to get rid of Christianity. It could all be a massive inversive deception to bring everybody back to the Creator. And I believe, I'm not, you know, people can believe what they want. I believe that Christ is the epitome of moral conscience, the symbology of the moral conscience, but Christ has been used as a huge deception against all of humanity by setting up what they claim to be the forgiveness for future sins before they have even happened, which is satanic, everybody. Right? That means they're skipping the moral conscience. In other words, where you and I have the ability to use that moral conscience within our DNA of love thy neighbour, treat everyone how you want to be treated, in a rational state of mind, to ensure that we do not affect and influence any harm psychologically or physically to anybody else, because we would not want that done to ourselves. Well, they've set up the ability to skip that, all right? And as long as you then repent and ask for forgiveness, so you're basically setting up an excuse to sin, or the ability to sin, the ability to set up a criminal system and a false ability to believe that you can then be forgiven for it just by saying sorry and turning to Jesus. And this is how I believe they've also mocked Christ through the blood ritual within Christianity, but also, I'm sorry to say, the other religious organisations appear, certainly the three main Abrahamic faiths, appear to have been deceived surrounding the blood element of it. So within the Muslim faith, the halal, the draining of the blood from the animals, it seems as though they're using that, and I've actually got the evidence to support this, using the blood from those animals, refining it to an extent where they can then transfuse it into the blood of humans through the healthcare system and stealing the blood from the humans, right, to then sell to extend the lives of others. There's so much evidence now in relation to this. This is why you've got, I believe, a halal company connecting to the formationscompany.com, which is a company that links to international world leaders via the research, including the research of Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Saudi Arabia, the leader of, was it Saudi Arabia? Iran, the former leader of Iran. Okay, and this formationscompany.com also links into the research of the Rapid Response members, which Trevor Meelan was part of, and they are linked into the royal family, into the evidence of the blood of the tortured children again, and into vampirism. There's actual links into vampirism into members of the Rapid Response via this. They were the people that threatened to steal my motorhome, to steal my home, and were insistent, Mikey P, for example, insistent that I meet with him so he could look me in the eyes. I don't need to meet with anybody, do I? I can discuss anything with you on a video call. I can have a conversation with you, and I've got the evidence to prove everything anyway, all right? And you just need to get behind me, support me, and of course they've all turned against me because they're linked in to the blood of the children, according to all of the research, all right? And the sex trade, international drug trade as well, and trillions of pounds worth of fraud. Stay in the house on Wednesday. Somebody's put. Yeah, I'm not too sure what to advise. This is, you know, if it's a genuine creator event, then of course you want to be lifting yourself. You want to be going into the air. If it happens, I suspect it's all symbolic, all right, and a catalyst to the truth via my evidence. But if it's something actually happens, I'm not too sure what to advise you, to be honest with you, because of the evidence I found. It could be a deception, that they're creating some sort of a... I doubt it. I doubt it's going to happen. I doubt there's going to be a physical event happening. But, you know, something has to happen at some point with all of this. It can't carry on as it is. Someone's put, we're all living in a construct. Even the light at the end of the tunnel is a deception, someone said. 12th of August is the date, Maureen Thompson. Interesting name. 12th of August is the date, supposedly, of Operation... one thing I was going to say, so the symbolism around that date is very important as well. So 15:33, in other words, 3:33 p.m. UK time is supposedly, with a conspiracy, when this gravity loss will occur. 3:33 is very scripturally related. All right, the 7 seconds is also very, very relevant. Okay, the 7 seconds, 7 is a reference to many things to do with Christ. For example, speculation. Well, I don't know if it was true because I wasn't there. Speculation is that Christ used the terminology of "I am," referencing him as the creator 7 times whilst he was here on earth. Then when he was on the cross, he made 7 comments. One of you will all know the very famous one of "Forgive them, for they know not what they do." This is very, very important in what is all coming to the light now, everybody. Because, of course, if people don't know what they're doing, how can they be judged? You have a potentially unjust judgment by the Creator if they're doing something because they don't know what they're doing, or they don't realise what's going on behind things, or they don't realise how they're being deceived to make them think things or act in a way. Well, now we've got all of the evidence to prove that, you see. So we are very, very close to either a true judgment event against those that are going against their moral conscience, which I believe is going against the Creator in its very nature, all right, by doing that. And anybody that is not doing anything about this also is potentially in very serious risk of damnation in this, all right? Because if you were to ask in your hearts, with all of this evidence, do I need to be doing something to protect the children? Am I doing enough? And if your answer is, no, I'm not doing enough, and I should be doing more, then you are at risk potentially of a judgment against you, because you by default become part of the problem. You become by default part of the crimes against the children, or the facilitation of the crimes against the children, shall we say. What can you do? You need to follow my strategy, which is to make citizens' arrests of all solicitors, first of all, Freemasons. You don't need to, you only need a few people to just be starting this ball rolling to do it. No hands-on. You don't need to you can go into their personal space. You just need to use simple words explaining they're part of a centralised criminal system. They need to remain with you because you suspect that they are aiding and abetting or conspiring to allow international fraud to continue. You call the police to attend, and it's important. The whole reason you do this is you get their faces on the video of the exposure. Right, this is how they've got away with it, everybody, using false names, false addresses, hiding behind false companies, not showing their faces, those running the system. So this is why it's very important. My strategy is critical. You expose them through their faces. There is nowhere to hide then unless they're wearing a mask. Okay? Now, if... let me come to the question, sorry, because I don't want to be on here for too much longer. Local header said they think it's a trap to maybe kill millions. So you think they're going to somehow create a gravity loss when it's not real, and then they all collapse to their death? Do we believe they've got the technology to do that? There's certainly evidence making me consider they have, but have they positioned that for this moment in time to actually create this confusion as to what people do with this, as to how people deal with this evidence, as to how people deal with me? Are they going to follow my strategy? Are they going to do the right thing by being empowered by evidence that they can verify, and then a strategy based on that evidence? Or are they not going to, in which case does all of humanity deserve to be judged and removed from Earth? Of course, that doesn't... we've got billions of other life forms on Earth. Even if a true creator judgment is necessary on Earth now, we've got billions of other life forms on Earth that don't deserve, I believe, to suffer through some sort of catastrophic end of creation event. Because it won't be, I don't believe there should be any end of creation or do I believe there should be a judgment event? It's a big question. If humanity are not going to do the right thing to safeguard children and safeguard creation, then there has to be some sort of a creator event, doesn't there? You know, if people have evidence and a strategy and nobody is doing anything about it, and they're quite happy to just go about their day with this evidence that children are potentially being tortured, all right, and abused, and there's potentially going to be the death of millions and all of creation and all of humanity, and they're still going to carry on about their day, do these people, including me at the moment, you know, I'm not doing enough. I had a question with someone a conversation with someone the other day, and I said, look, I think I'm at risk in this. I'm at risk in this. Because, you know, I should be going and doing those arrests right now, potentially. But then on part of me, I'm thinking, well, okay, well, if I am who it seems I might be in this, I need to stay safe, and I need to be, because there could be an arrest warrant for me for not turning up at court on the 18th of November. So I've got to try and think, what is the right thing for me to do in this? Tactically, strategically, if I am who it looks as though I may be, what is it I'm supposed to do in this? That's a big question for me. What is it I'm actually supposed to do with this? And, you know, it's a big dilemma as to... But there's no reason whatsoever that all of you could not go out peacefully, legally, expose public arrests of the solicitors, first of all, and the accountants, the financial advisors, and the Freemasons. I would advise that those 4 organisations are the ones that need to be targeted in a peaceful, legal way initially to apply pressure to the system, and you will find that the entire system will then start to buckle. All right, and what you want is a transitional change of system. You don't want a sudden collapse of this system where there will be potential chaos, you know, people not being able to get food, example. You need a transitional change to the system, which is what I'm trying to do. Now, 4 years ago, they should have literally approached me and said, Gary, look, all right, this is what's been going on. What do you think we should be doing about this now? And how? And maybe saying, look, Gary, we've got this information that you may be this person. You know, this is what they should have done 4 years ago. Because they haven't done that for 4 years, these people are now at the greatest risk of everybody, right? Because they're possibly going to face serious consequences here on Earth, and definitely, I would think, going to face serious consequences after their time on Earth. Because there's only so many chances that people can be given to do the right thing, and when repentance, a commitment to change, and a full disclosure of the truth will actually mean anything. Thank you very much for your comment, King of Kings. Drink out of copper cups, someone said. We were double-crossed with the cross. Yeah, absolutely, Starry Held. And thank you, Starry Held. And thank you to everyone else that's given me some information that has supported my evidence. Thank you, Starry Held, has given me some very important bits of information. One thing I was going to say, and thank you to somebody, I didn't even realise this. So my birthday in October, I'm 49 years old. Okay, 4 and 9 is 13. That relevant number 13. Now there would have been no other time in my life, as far as I can think. I'm not great with maths, but no other time in my life where 2 numbers would have made 13 in my life. So we are literally at that moment of a 13 reference to the end of this system, I believe, and potentially the return. The number 13 is critical in all of this. The Grand Master of the Knights Templar was supposedly captured on Friday the 13th, 1307. Again, it could be false information for me to join all of these dots together because of who I am, but let's just presume at the moment that could be truth in that happening. And he was then tortured for 7 days. We have that number 7 for supposedly hiding the bloodline of Christ and potentially the bones of Mary Magdalene and Christ through that, which ties into the Knights Templar and the skull and crossbones and the number 322, which is in gematria the same as BBC. Okay, because A representing 1, B 2, 3, C, etc. BBC 223, which is an inversion. So my birthday, 49. Now I've already found connections twice to 49 steps. 49. Okay, I need to research my document again. I think it was a key moment. And now, because thank you very much to somebody that said, Gary, you do realise 4-9 is 13. That's your age that you're coming up to. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. Well, that becomes potentially relevant with this 49 links into the movies that came in. So I now need to go back and check that. And I'm actually linked into the research of a company called the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table. It was originally founded in 1720, which is 4 years before Portals started to create the currency for the Bank of England in 1724. 1720, when that started, it was started by actors, so it's links into the entertainment industry according to the research. This is the Honourable Society of the Knights of the Round Table. So we have that link in, and that makes reference to King Arthur. And King Arthur appears to be a symbolic potential return of Christ in all of this via the research that I've found. You've got the Albion, spine of Albion, which goes up the length of the main body of the United Kingdom. Starts in the Isle of Wight, everybody, according to the research. Isle of Wight, yes, where Deborah Fleming had been an NHS chief executive, where Emma Lee had lived, and where also Emma Lee, same name, as I've said, the surname of the Cray twins' mum, and one of the Cray twins was in prison on the Isle of Wight. And he became a born-again Christian, according to the research, and was then transferred to Maidstone prison. Maidstone is where I worked in the police from 2000 until 2006 when I transferred to Dorset. So the 13 number is also relevant. There's so many things. My brain's trying to remember everything. 13 number is also relevant because you've got 13 stars on the $1 bill. You've got 13 steps on the pyramid. Remember, you've got the 49 steps film. It's going to be tying in with that, I think. And you've got the all-seeing eye on the top of that pyramid. That all-seeing eye references the oculus. The oculus omni links in with the eye of Lucifer, tying into the research of the Freemasons again. And the oculus also links with the Pantheon building, which was in Rome, or is still in Rome, I believe. And that was built back in, I can't remember the year, but it's nearly 2,000 years ago. And the oculus is the opening where the sun comes in. There's no roof part in that middle section. It's a circular opening. And that light comes down on the 21st of April each year to shine on the door. And that's when the emperor would come in to that building and the light would shine on that date. Well, 21st of April is the date of the foundation of Rome. Okay, according to the information, in 643 BC. 643 BC or 653, I can't remember, it's one of those. And 21st of April is also Queen Elizabeth II's birthday in 1926 or 1929. And the 21st of April also becomes relevant in key dates within the research now I'm identifying as well. Queen Elizabeth II was coronated in 1953. I think it might have been 653 actually, because I'm sure I remember seeing, wow, 653 and 1953 with her coronation. I think it was 653. Anyway, she was coronated in 1953, which is the same year that the MK Ultra program began, according to the research, the mass non-consensual experimentation on humanity tying into this criminal network. Of course, I can't say that it was definitely real, but I can definitely tell you that subliminal messaging programming is a real thing, and you've only got to consider flickering an image quick enough, right, on a television screen. Your subconscious will take in that flickering image, but not your conscience. All right, because you're too engrossed watching that program or that film, flicker an image, and there you go. You can program the mind through the subconscious via that subliminal message. And I believe the same is very likely possible via sound frequencies as well, where you're too busy listening to your normal sounds around your life, and if they create a sound of the right frequency, your subconscious will pick it up. What if they don't comply, someone said, with an arrest? Well, you're only asking them to just remain there. If they walk away, it's up to you. You could, if they decide to walk away, you could stand in front of them. You have a power of arrest at the end of the day. It's up to them if they push past you. That technically could become an assault then, because they're resisting a lawful arrest, believe it or not. So that could be classed as an assault. It's a bit of a wishy-washy assault. But, you know, my advice is if they start walking away, as long as they're not leaving the building, then, I'm sure they're not going to be honest with you. Why would they, all right? Because they believe they're going to be protected by the police that turn up. right? Very likely they think nothing's going to happen when the police turn up. They have no reason to leave. All right, these aren't drunks generally, or people that are going to be wanting to fight you, and you're not even getting into their personal space. You're not giving them any reason to feel defensive. Right, you're not threatening them. You're not being aggressive, abusive. You're not swearing. You're not even going near to them. You're literally just explaining calmly and politely your organisation is part of a centralised criminal system. I'm now going to be calling the police. Right, it's very simple. It's very, very easy. And then the police turn up. You give them a chance to do the right thing. If not, you expose the police as well through their faces, and they get plastered everywhere, linking to the crimes against the children, the blood of the children, international conflict, deception, money laundering, and potentially the end of all of creation eventually in this. And there will be, I'm almost certain, if this fraud is not resolved, the end of creation, because you've got artificial intelligence is all to do with this. Artificial intelligence actually began its life, a big part of it, in Dorset. You had Turing, what was his first name? Nathan Turing? No, can't remember his first name. But when he was 13 years old, that number again, everybody, 13, he went to Sherborne School in Dorset. He ended up then committing suicide, according to the research, and he was also, I think I could have this wrong because I haven't got it in front of me. He faced allegations of crimes, I believe. I think they were sexual crimes. I'm not too sure if it's against children. Someone's put the latest series of The Chosen is amazing. Yes, The Chosen. I've started doing the research surrounding it. It actually appears to be making links into myself and my life again via The Chosen. If you don't know what The Chosen is, it's a series that was about Christ, and the timing of it is very, very relevant to my investigation when they brought out the different series. And they actually brought it out, first of all, in 2019, not long before the COVID outbreak, and they then made it available free to everybody, right, to watch it on multiple platforms during the COVID lockdown. Possibly to get people thinking about what was coming up with the evidence and what I'm doing and what I'm exposing and all of this. But yeah, it's very, very relevant. I can't remember whether the director goes straight. There's massive links in from it anyway. I haven't had a chance to really let it sink in what I've found on that so far. So why haven't you done it then, Gary? Hopefully I've explained that, because there's potentially a arrest warrant for me, and I'm doing more than enough, more than my part, to actually give humanity the empowerment through the evidence and through the strategy. I'm guessing you're compromised, Aaron, but I'll answer your question anyway. No, it's not what's trespassing? No, there's no trespass. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you doing what you're doing. You've got to remember, everybody, you're going to get people coming on here. All this does is emphasize how worried they are, all right, about my strategy. I know how worried they are because they created an organization going under the heading of the Citizens Arrest Network. And the person that was heading that did a video. They were then arrested as a result of trying to arrest. It was all publicized, but they go back via the Company's House records, massive connections into the criminal network. Right, so they staged that to make you believe that you can't follow my strategy. This is the only strategy that will work. Hopefully I've answered your question, Moonlight. Oh no, so why haven't you done it? Hopefully I've answered you, Aaron. Do you believe there are shapeshifters or reptilian lizard people? No. Do I believe they're using multiple identities and changing their physical appearance? Yes, but not in the way that you're being led to believe via, or some people are saying, where they're lizards and they're actually changing their shape. They may actually think they're lizards. They may have actually thought they've seen lizards. Don't forget, you've got people that are high as a kite, all right, running our world. A lot of the people are probably going to be cocaine addicts. They're not even thinking rationally, and they're not thinking clearly. And they've separated from the creator. They're possibly imagining things or even believing there's something that they're not even the case, because drugs does very strange things to people's minds. Gary, they know what it entails. Their punishment is not delayed. The law will find them. Science, someone's put. Thank you very much for your comment, Alexis. They practice in on us and always have and will. Yeah, not unless you do the right thing and you prevent this system from continuing. Local head has put, maybe I believe things similar happened in the past. I don't think we've ever been in, personally, in this specific moment in time with all of this happening at this time. I had somebody said to me a few months ago, they contacted me and said, Gary, you're someone very important in all of this. You've lived 13 lives, and over those 13 lives, you have left evidence to expose the entire system. And one day you will realise who you are. And they sent me a number. That number made some sort of reference into royalty when I checked it later, but I didn't delve into it enough. At this point, this was months ago. At this point, I didn't have the level of evidence that I had and the open mind to consider all of the things that I'm considering back then. I was sort of more, for me, it was very much a case of I need to start seeing the evidence to support what I'm saying, and it gradually escalated for me to be now talking about things like the firmament and things like that. Thank you very much. I miss you, Violet, for your comment. I really appreciate it. This is a reset by the 1%, someone said. If they're going to be doing some sort of physical reset, I can tell you now they are going to be facing eternal judgment. There is absolutely no doubt that they will be facing, if they continue as they are with this system, they will be facing eternal judgment. All right. Many of them have probably been led to, I believe, there's actually information suggesting they've been led to believe there is no creator. So therefore, that's instilled potentially this selfish motive and the fear of death to the point where they're involved in the blood of the children to extend their lives. All right. The evidence and the information I have is overwhelming that there is a creator. All right. And that actually we need to utilize my evidence to remove the fear of death, implement a new system, and bring heaven on earth. Well, Mother Nature taking control, from what I can see, this world's becoming too evil. Yeah, it is. Certainly appears that it has been very evil. It appears that it's been very evil, but I think we're coming to the end of it one way or another. There is earthquakes going off all over at the moment. Thank you, A. Yes, that's what we're being led to believe is the case. We're also being led to believe there are loads and loads of fires everywhere. What we have to consider is they are timing this information with my evidence as an end of tribulation prophecy scenario. Right? We have to consider they are trying to time things. I'm not saying those fires aren't all happening. It's possible they're starting some of the fires. I've actually seen some videos where there's somebody starting fires. I mean, you've all seen them, I'm sure. Several people actually causing the fires. But don't forget, they can very easily control the information and isolate it within a very small number of people. So, for example, I believe they could probably now stop the Scottish people seeing the same information as the people living in the south of England. I suspect. I definitely believe they can change it from country to country. So we may be being, for example, being led to believe that there are fires in a certain location in another part of the world with all of these videos, potentially not even real, with artificial intelligence, all right, to actually fit an agenda. We have to consider that. I'm just going to get I might actually just finish. Or should I finish or get my torch so you can see me? Yes, there are reptilian energies within people. Yeah, I absolutely understand that. There may be like the reptilian may be a symbolic evil for what these people are doing, or what they, the evil within them. Yes, I suspect that could, but that's not them being reptilians, is it? That could be, you could use anything as a symbol, as evil depicted within them. Queen Elizabeth had power on earth. Where is she now? Begging to come back, someone said. Why did you go to court? Because I refused to pay insurance on my vehicle because I found evidence that it was all centralised to the blood of the children, and so was the DVLA. So I had to make a call of, well, what do I do? Do I take the chance? I can't go home. What do I do? Take the chance and then use that opportunity to not entrap them, but if they choose to stop me, to use that particular event to expose everything, all of the evidence that I've got. And that's what happened. I refused to give my date of birth. They then arrested me, took my motorhome, took my dog. Never seen my dog since. This is one thing I find very hard not to be angry about. Because I loved my dogs and they knew I loved Rosie very much. And since I have been publicising the evidence of Rosie, it looks as though they are feeding loads of animals being killed onto my TikTok channel. This is the sort of thing people we deal with, everybody. Anyway, I then went into custody because I refused to give my date of birth, right? And then I refused bail because I knew I need to make an example of and take the opportunity to use what was happening to me to try and expose the evidence through their legal system. So I then admitted that I disabled a cell tower repeatedly to multiple police officers or members of police staff, shall we say, in the jail, in the police station, whilst I was in custody over 2 or 3 days, requested to be interviewed formally for me disabling that cell tower because I knew I could then present my document, present all of the evidence, which is verifiable, corroborative, irrefutable evidence, exposing the entire world's criminal network to the blood of the children, the international conflicts, terrorism, and everything in the deception. They refused to interview me. I've still not been interviewed at all. So they bailed me to an address. I suspect they were going to take my life in prison. They tried to poison me via somebody coming into my cell offering me a mint, and I realised, spat it out, and didn't take it, but they thought I'd had it. Possibly, because I spat it into a cup without them seeing me, which means possibly when I went into the court and I was still standing, they were like, why is he still standing? Why is this man... Now we're going to have to unlawfully imprison him. So they used a judge that was linked to Ingenious Film Partners 2, everybody. Ingenious Film Partners 2 is the company on page 40 of the incorporation document for the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, linking to me. All right, the judge in that case was linked to that almost immediately. The same company he was part of, a director linked to Ingenious Film Partners 2, everybody. That's not a coincidence. Okay, Ingenious Film Partners 2 links to James Cameron. James Cameron is the director for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Judgment Day, everybody. The Terminator movies link into the Matrix movies and represent Christ. Okay, it's very biblical via those movies. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was my favourite movie, everybody. Not a coincidence. James Cameron also links immediately into Exbourne Manor, where my investigation began, from Osmsley Manor. Osmsley Manor is a building in Hampshire in the New Forest, which links to the Cray twins and the Russian Profuma affair. The Profuma affair was of a lady called Jacqueline Healer, I think it is, Healer? Can't remember, I haven't got it in front of me. She had an affair, according to the information, with somebody within the UK government, and she was having an affair at the same time with somebody in the Russian government. And that company links to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was a heroin addict. Aleister Crowley was living on the coast of Inverness, on the coast of the Loch Ness, near Inverness. I suspect the Loch Ness Monster was actually named after him. All right, he's massively implicated in this. And there's loads of links into Aleister Crowley and Ian Fleming. Somebody's put, I wouldn't risk the warrant. Somebody, when the humans don't care about their own flesh and blood, that's how it's game over. Yeah, absolutely, everybody. This is why I cannot, for the life of me, well, there's two things why people aren't following the strategy. Either everyone's corrupted and part of this, and they're controlling all of the information, all right? So I can't actually get it to anybody that's not part of some sort of massive operational project with me at the centre as a huge experimental deception. Or they're so corrupted by the system, they're actually part of the problem. Now, arguably, those that are, please don't take this the wrong way, arguably, those that agree with my evidence, verify it and support me and don't actually follow the strategy, they're possibly at more risk in all of this than those that are ignorant to what's going on and aren't doing anything because of their ignorance. You know, this is something you all need to be thinking about here. If you're innocent, you have the evidence, you're verifying it, and you have a strategy, you need to be following that strategy. It's really quite simple, everybody. It really is quite simple. If the world had my evidence, and they understood it, and they knew about it, and they had it, I'm no doubt that the entire world would have changed months ago. Months ago. All right, so they're definitely controlling my information, my evidence. To what extent, I can't obviously be sure, but they're definitely controlling my evidence and my information. Now, is it true about station post where sergeants take advantage of the newbies? I didn't see that personally. I definitely saw laziness within the police. My name was Duracell Bunny. I was always running around literally trying to do everything. And I always wondered, why is it all the people that are lazy end up progressing through the ranks? Well, we now know why, because it's linking into this criminal network. And remember, it's a problem, reaction, solution criminal network. So I now have to consider how many of the jobs, how many of the incidents that I went to were actually fake and set up with a fake victim, fake offender to fit the problem, reaction, solution criminal network. And possibly even a test for me. How's Gary going to deal with this? If he is who we believe he is, how's he going to deal with all of these incidents? And possibly as a test for me. That's not true, Moonlight UK. All right, not everybody is completely selfish. Obviously, we have a, I'm a testament to that because I'm living in a tent. First of all, I could have asked for money. I could have just filed those bank documents and not worried about it and agreed to file them, but I didn't. So that's not the case. That's not true, Moonlight. There are good people who will do the right thing in this, I hope and I pray. Go and sit in a woodland forest and you'll get your answer. Garrett, somebody said, they're investigating the police and the Masons. Yeah, that's what we're being led to believe. Unfortunately, it's very likely a cover-up investigation and to make you believe that. All right? Until they disclose the truth of their criminal system, which needs to be on all mainstream media, all social media, repeatedly for several days, so that they telling everybody they've had a criminal system in place. That's the only way you're going to be sure of this, right? So they reset the system to truth. That will then trigger the change to the system, but they're not doing that. So you need to therefore compel the truth through my strategy. That's why I've done this strategy. Parents won't even protect outside the grooming school persons. Someone said. Gary, what did you make? Somebody's put, Gary, what did you make of the Hampstead case when you were a policeman? I didn't actually know about it, first of all, until after I left the police. Obviously, that was in London. I was in Dorset. Never even heard about it until I started investigating this. It's massively connected to the international government fraud. It's massively connected into what I'm exposing. It links to CERN. Almost immediately it links to Peter Mandelson. It links to Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously, Ricky Dearman was the father allegedly accused. Right, but I have to consider with the information I've got that event particularly may have been a stage false event for me to identify all of the connections and who I am in all of this, because there's certain bits of information that suggest that could be the case. Someone's put 33rd degree Freemasons have to do serious things to get trusted. Yes, so we are being told, so we are led to believe. It's definitely a secret society which goes against the creator. Anything that's secrecy and the opposite of transparency is not a good thing, right? It goes against the creator. So I was put, Gary, is it true about, hopefully I've answered that. Are you a Libra? 13 is a Freemason number. No, I'm a Scorpio. Well, if my birth date is correct, then I'm a Scorpio, if you're asking me Street Hawk. I used to love Street Hawk. Street Hawk, Knight Rider. Knight Rider connects to me via the research. It connects to the creator of Battlestar Galactica, which becomes relevant to Adam's Arc. Get a grounding sheet, Gary, or minimum walk barefoot and earth yourself. Thank you, my venture. Yeah, I do every now and then. I get out of the tent with my bare feet. When you were a teenager, 13 years old. Yeah, I had a look. When I was 13, on my birthday, the very day of my birthday when I was 13, which would have been 1991, Margaret Thatcher was the only person out of 12 leaders at a meeting that opposed a single currency in the EU on the day of my birthday. Very interesting, I believe. Good night, Moonlight. 13 is letter M, Mason. Yep. And 13 is the strong concordance number, thanks to Starry Held, which relates to an unjust judgment upon humanity through destruction, the hidden hand remaining hidden or not. 13 is also 13 vertebrae in the human back, which is relevant to this through the creator. And the letter M, also Madeleine McCann and Mary Magdalene. And there's a couple of double M references that are important in relation to the fraud. Skull and Bones, 223, is it? Thanks, Kelsey. I might have had the number wrong earlier. 223. I think the actual Skull and Bones number, I think it's 322. So it's inverted, I think. It could be wrong. I'm sure I read and got the research that it's actually 322 and then inverted it's BPC. I could be wrong on that. Someone's put there's 13 steps in a set of stairs, is there? I never knew that. Interesting. Thank you very much. 323 is a Mason number. 33 steps in Freemasonry. Yep. Thank you very much. Yeah, 33 degrees is also relevant to the Rupus Nigra on the North Pole, which now links via my research to the South Pole via by the neutrino ice cube device, or ice cube neutrino device, and they are connected together via the Company's House records, the two poles being connected. What about 67? Yeah, I'm not too sure. There's a lot of this 6-7 going around. I don't know enough about that to be able to comment on that. 7 of us on the 7th. Someone's put 7 hermetic principles. Thank you. I'm way behind on the comments. Oh yeah, you've put Street Hawk. Yeah, it's 322. 322. Grounding every day is powerful. Someone's put. Let's get rid of Die Master. Whatever his name is. Oh, DJ Master. Probably doesn't make any difference blocking them because they've all got access just to keep coming on anyway. They just changed the usernames. They've set the whole social media up specifically for this moment in time. It looks like Trump just met the Nordics. Interesting. Thanks, SW. Norway's very important in all of this. Lot of evidence tying in with Norway. Around the dolphin culling as well, which began in the Faroe Islands. Norway dolphin and whale culls began in the 9th century with the Norwegian king. If you add your age to the year you were born in 2000, if you add your age to the year you were born, it's 2026. Weird. Add your age to the year. Interesting. Vanessa's put every 7 years they update the census. Interesting. Thank you. Didn't know that, Vanessa. This is what Gary does. Brings the truth. We should all respect him and make the world better. Thank you very much. Me, WSAKO. Getting rid of somebody else. Police is a corrupt business and they need arresting. Yep, certainly the heads of the police organisations, the chief constables, the Association of Chief Police Officers, they all do need arresting. That will come with time once you start changing the system. Right, they can all be arrested later. First of all, you need to, it's very difficult to go and arrest all of the police. You need to give the frontline police officers the chance to do the right thing or be exposed themselves. I was innocent. I was a frontline police officer. That means there may be other innocent frontline police officers. I went to Maidstone on a holiday when I was a kid. Why would you go to Maidstone on a holiday? I would say that though, because I lived there for a long time. So, well, I actually lived in Rochester area, Medway, which is just up the road, about 7 miles away. When you guys need a solicitor barrister, you all respect them, but in reality, yeah, they're all corrupted. Every single one of them are corrupted. They work the system to protect the system, right? Because of the money laundering, multi-trillions of pounds. It was all set up specifically for it. This is obvious. Oh, you were born on the 21st of April. Interesting. Yeah, it's a very relevant day. Foundation of Rome. And as I said, the sundial at the Pantheon building, the Oculus shining through the Oculus, the sun. It's 22:48. Very strange that, Gary. What, the time 22:48? Why is that strange? Go look up 49 in the Strong Concordance. It's concubine of David in Hebrew. Interesting, thank you. Concubine of David. Well, St. David's is very relevant in this. And David within the Bible, obviously David and Goliath is very relevant in what's going on. The Eve of Horus is the shape of the pineal gland in your brain. The centre of it, that opens. Thanks, Street Hawk. Good night, Pakistan. No, the police don't even know the law. Yeah, it's it's a difficult job to remember all of the legislation. It's because they deal with so many different things. Very difficult to remember all of the different powers and legislation. We would need the paperwork to make a citizen's arrest. No, you don't. No, you don't. You can send, right? You can contact me before you're going to do the arrest. Say you're going to be doing an arrest. I'll specifically send it to you if you wanted it before. Or you can do the arrest and I can send you the paper afterwards. You can just do it. Right? You don't have to have, you're not convicting somebody. You're not saying they're guilty. You're saying you believe. Right, you're not saying you're guilty, it's proven. You're saying we believe you're part of a centralised criminal system. Yeah, if you want to go and do an arrest then, SW, contact me on here, private message, send me your email. I will get you that document as a priority. You let me know where you're going to do the arrests. I'll do a bit of research surrounding that location, just so you've got the research to back up what you're going to be doing. I bet I don't hear from you, SW. Be nice if you do. And microwave frequencies, 5G is waveband weaponized since the 1950s. Yeah, I think with the cell towers, now there's probably multiple uses to the cell towers and the microwave technology. I suspect they've been using the technology to cause illness within humanity and potentially death, but more likely illness to get you to go into the healthcare system to then take your blood. I suspect that's a big part of the technology they've got in place. I will do Starry Held. I'll have a look at that. Number 49 in the Strong Concordance. Thank you. I'll take a look. I mean, that's not going to be 49. And what else was it that became relevant? I've forgotten. There's another reference to that. Yeah, it's gone up my head. Someone's put age 7 is known as the age of reason in Catholicism. Interesting. Yeah, AI began its life in Dorset with, as I've said, Turing. Go and look at him. Age 13, he went to the school there. He's one of the main people involved in creating artificial intelligence, according to the research that I've got. Do you know whose idea it was to have a child adoption agencies? Well, I don't know specifically whose idea it was, but I know that Tony Blair came in 2006, which is the year that I moved from Kent to Dorset, and that was where they changed the policy where they could intervene within families where there's pregnancies before the children are even born, to have the ability to then take that child when they're born from those families. The Great Deception by Compost Beaumont. Very interesting stuff. Thank you very much. That name Beaumont actually could be very relevant in this. It's the Beaumont surname makes critical connections, and actually it's very clear that there is a bloodline link into the centralized criminal system, if you like. So when you do see the surname, obviously a lot of people will say, yeah, but there's lots of them, it might not be the same families or whatever, but then when you trace it via the names, 9 times out of 10 you'll actually get back to the same companies in the centralized criminal network. The true translation of sin is an archery term, meaning you missed the mark and you must try it again. Thank you very much. Interesting. Fake identity. Yeah, these people, right, they're trying, it seems from what we're being told, to get you to have one number or identity for all of you, and they are using multiple aliases, fake names, stolen identities. That's obvious. Even the judges, I've got the evidence now showing that they are using different names, and even the same pictures for 2 different judges in the public domain. It's really quite unreal. We are dealing with the biggest criminals imaginable, everybody. They are the true criminals. I have never, in 18 years of my time in the police, I never dealt with criminals like this. It's far beyond anything. That in itself is a massive statement to make. Let's face it, bearing in mind what I've been telling you, Problem Reaction Solution Criminal Network, we've got the main criminals running the system that supposedly is protecting humanity from criminals. Gary, can you look into Shugborough Hall Da Vinci Code links? Yeah, I will try. Certainly, you know, once the 12th is out the way, then I can, you know, spend a bit more time on other things. My concern at the moment is about the 12th and what that could mean to all of humanity. So I'm going to, hopefully, in the next couple of days, I'm going to get the rest of the evidence out surrounding Princess Elvina Pallavicini, which becomes absolutely critical. It's going to blow me away. When you see what I'm going to be telling you, you've got a Waterman company. You've all heard of the Waterman pens. Okay, the Waterman pen companies now link straight to Jeffrey Epstein via the Edge Foundation. The Edge Foundation is the company linked to Siemens and CERN and the Collider technology. So you've got these links into Waterman's, but it also now links to Harrison Ford in multiple ways. And it links into this lady who I believe was good, according to the research, Elvina Pallavicini. She was a princess that, it seems, tried to separate from the Vatican to create a bloodline and potentially bring about the true creator through the bloodline of through Christ, to prevent the destruction upon earth that may come otherwise. There's so much evidence in relation. I'm going to be publicising that first thing tomorrow. I need to get the rest of the videos out of the evidence, and probably what I'm going to do is do one video. Actually, I thought about this today. Why don't I just do a video of me scrolling through the screenshots of the evidence in one video rather than doing it in... So I might do that tomorrow as well. and then you can just verify that information from those screenshots if you wanted. Karma is coming to collect, someone said. Yep. They're not, I can tell you now, they are not going to get away scot-free, whether it's this life or the next, with what they have been doing to humanity. What do I think will happen? I suspect there's going to be no physical event on the 12th. That's probably what I'm edging towards. However, I don't know that for sure. Part of me is saying, I hope there's going to be some sort of a creator event as a judgment against them, those. So it ends this. Part of me is hoping that something's going to happen on the 12th, but what I don't want to happen is something that could have been prevented and that's not meant to happen. What was the ritual about outside CERN? They had black clothes on and sacrificed a woman. Yes, that happened supposedly, they're obviously claiming it's a hoax, in August 2016, which is after the Pizzagate scandal had started to become exposed. And that exact same month, there's various things happened. So you had the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, which has the Christ the Redeemer overlooking it. That same month, you had the very important company CAPD Limited, Charlie Alpha Papa Delta Limited, which was originally incorporated as Robert Fleming Co. Limited in 1932, dissolved in that same month, August 2016. That is a very important company. You'll see, if you follow my evidence over the next couple of days, you will see that actually features multiple times in the research again. And that was after the Egyptian resurgence, it looks like, in the 1920s to 1930, and there are Egyptian references tying into the Flemings, linking into the ancient burial chambers in France, which links to the main Freemason lodges and me. Michelle's put, there's been so many resets, so we've been led to believe. Don't forget, the information is all from them. Right? They control all of the information. This is why it's been so complicated to try and establish what's been going on through an evidential trail of evidence through their own government system. There'll be no other way to do this, and then trying to use the news articles and other information, as well as them not responding to emails and to police reports, to identify if I'm on the right track in all of this, and identify the truth in all of this. It is no easy task, everybody, because they have created so much deception. Gary, did you say all of the evidence ends up in CERN? Why was CERN turned off? Thanks, Space, for your question. Certainly, there's key subjects that all of the evidence converges on, right? So you have the collider technology, which includes CERN. You've got the blood of the children. You've got the Vatican. You've got the cell towers. The COVID is very important in this. The international conflicts, the drug trafficking, and the sex trade, the crimes against the children. All converging on those sort of main things, and there may be some other things I've forgotten. So, this is an international collaborative project, don't forget. This isn't just the UK that's interested in CERN. This is international governments. International governments involved in the blood of the children, international governments involved in CERN, international governments involved in the drug trafficking, etc., etc., etc. All right? Problem, reaction, solution, criminal network. Why did CERN shut off? Look, I'm not 100% sure. We're being led to believe that CERN and other collider technology is them colliding particles together at the speed of light to determine dark matter and other things about the universe. That's almost guaranteed to be a lie. It's possible that there is no technology, nothing's being done with those facilities, and there never has been. Possible. It's a deception. There is overwhelming evidence to support that they are a risk to all of creation, whatever they are doing with there, whether it is trying to create a wormhole or a black hole on Earth, and it's certainly linking into the international government fraud. Why did it turn off till 2030? Is it them realising they're so fully exposed, they don't need to use it anymore, and there's too many people that don't want to work there anymore? Could be that, couldn't it? Could be that. And they've said that it's going to be reopened in 2030. Well, that times in with the 2030 agenda, doesn't it? which is some speculation that that is something to do with the true full return of Christ. This is what the Bereshit prophecy says, which it looks as though they were trying to time everything with. It says that the return of Christ will happen in 2030. In other words, a tribulation event in 2030. I suspect I'm able to change through the evidence the timeline of everything that's happening on Earth. They've even practically told me that I have the ability to do that. Hell doesn't want them. You can imagine what will happen to them. Yeah. They seem to be trying to avoid dying because they're so worried. This could be another reason why there's the extension of the life through the blood. Maybe they are now they've been realizing that their souls are at stake if they die, so therefore they're trying not to die to avoid eternal damnation. There is we have to consider that could be a big part of what's playing out now. And this could explain why they're trying to use the CERN technology, if it's real, to create a wormhole. In other words, the ability to manipulate time and go back in time, because they may think that's the only way that they can undo what they have ever done in the first place and therefore avoid their eternal damnation. But, of course, the Creator will see through that. That won't matter, because the Creator is, I believe, is beyond all time, matter and understanding, and it won't matter if they go back in time to try and stop their damnation, because the Creator will know that that's what they've done. And then you come back to the only chance of salvation is full disclosure of the truth, full repentance, and a commitment to change. They do not seem to be wanting to do that. So I don't believe in dinosaurs, but believe in God. Yeah, I mean, look, we could have a massive subject about the Creator, but if you believe that everything came from nothing and that everything is a chance and a coincidence, even with the design within creation and everything that is now happening at this moment, then you seriously need to think again. Right? But don't forget, the system has got you to try and think like that as well. There is overwhelming evidence, I believe, all around us that there is a Creator. And if you get to a point where you don't know the answer, so in other words, those that you normally turn to for the answers, the government, because you've been trusting them, like I did, before 2022, I believed everything the government was saying, and I would have turned to them for answers or government organisations for answers in things I didn't understand. But now we know how deceived and corrupted they are. That changes everything. Of course it does. And we know that we can't trust a thing they are saying until there is a full reset of the truth to admit this criminal system which deliberately motivates the lies and the deception, you see. So, there's a lot of motive now identified for the dinosaurs to be lying. I've already mentioned quite a lot of that earlier. Right, it sets up through the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs the ability to instill fear, but also set up a fake alien deception as an escape plan if their system ever becomes exposed. I've got evidence now, very strong evidence supporting that dinosaurs didn't even exist and that the asteroid never happened. I would like to speak to the Creator who made my mother-in-law. That's genius. That's interesting. Thank you very much. Very funny. Yeah, 100%. I believe there's a Creator. 100%. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without a Creator. There's no way. You got the dreams I'm having leading to the evidence. That's not me creating those dreams. This came from information. Happened and then led to information I didn't even know existed. I mean, it's impossible unless they've infiltrated my mind and they've infiltrated space, time and matter as well. But why would they have done that, even if that was possible, to expose themselves? It just doesn't make sense. So then you come back to the Creator is intervening in my life to do this. In my opinion, basically, Barbara Kahan means high-level fraud. Yeah, that's just one of the names they use. That was one name that Gordon Bowden appears to have identified. There's many names, same as Barbara Khan, that are probably stolen, made up. There was a Barbara Khan person. She used to work for the Children's Bureau, National Children's Bureau. It's possible that they just used her identity, stole it, used it, verified it. Used variations of it. But that is one of many names now. There's many, many more since then have been identified right the way through the criminal network where they're probably not even real names. Remember, there's been no verification. All right, no verification. So they literally can just make a name up, put that on a company, and there you go, launder money through that name. Because there's been no verification. And they've been doing it for a very long time. Can you tell me more about the who revealed your place and purpose in all of this? Oh, that's a good question. Who revealed through the evidence? It was a gradual snowball of me gaining evidence to get to this point. So it started off with me, an inquiry within a company that I was part of, wanting to see the bank documents, and then acquiring the evidence through those bank accounts, and the investigation surrounding it, and it just snowballed and snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and it just escalated into what I'm now talking about. And then via cross-referencing all of the evidence, I managed to identify who it looks as though I may be in all of this. Not just through the cross-referencing the evidence, but also the reactions, the inactions, the responses, the lack of the responses, the ignoring of the police reports, the fact that they had the Flemings the fact they had relations of Ian Fleming and Robert Fleming involved, sat in meetings that I was calling for a dilapidated old building in Bournemouth, tells us how significant this is. I identified not fairly quickly, but over a period of time, that all three of my families are connected to Julian Assange, David Icke, Donald Trump, the main Freemason Lodge, Exbourne Manor. I was led to believe none of them were linked to Exbourne Manor. All three of my families were connected to Exbourne Manor, which is the company where where the investigation began for me, which was staged, that introduction, to it. I had no idea. They set me up. They set me up as being part of it. So it was a gradual identification of the evidence. Yep, thousands of years stolen in history. Yep, probably our entire history is a lie. Even some of the information that I've acquired, what I have to consider is the whole thing was set up right back from the beginning for this moment in time. For this moment in time to bring heaven on earth. Sorry, I do look a bit scary in the dark, don't I, here? My eyes. Is that better? No, it's even worse. Red face. It's because I'm sat like in almost a field with just trees. What if I turn my brightness up? Oh no, it is up. It's up fully. I have got like a lantern torch in my bag, but I'll just stay like this for now, as long as you can hear me. If you still believe in global Earth at this stage, you're just being very silly. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that side of things. I'm open-minded. I am finding that the firmament side of things is connected into everything. And I'll hopefully get that evidence out in the next couple of days, I hope. Can I tell you more about David Icke? Willy Wonka has put. Yeah, so I had... David Icke was a professional footballer, as you know. In 1991, he came out on Terry Wogan saying he was acting on behalf of the God's Head and that the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. That was 1991, the same year that Marcel Lefebvre died, who actually links to Princess Elvina and links to me. Right, so he died. It looks as though he was opposing the modernisation of the church, leading into a technological potential end of creation event through that technological future. He came out and said the world would be devastated by earthquakes and tsunamis. That's the same year that the relativistic heavy ion collider started to be built in New York for the first time. And loads of scientists came out, according to the information, and said that technology that you're starting to build could cause a black hole on Earth. They went ahead and built it anyway, supposedly. May not even be real. That was then first activated in June 2000 on the exact same day that the movie X-Men was premiered in New York. X-Men makes the reference into the bloodline of Christ, into everything that I'm talking about, Planet X, etc. Bryan Singer, who was its director, is linked to a child abuse ring, according to that information. He also directed Superman Returns, that came out in 2006, the year that I moved from Kent to Dorset. Same year as the Da Vinci Code. Anyway, David Icke. So he then went back on, again, this isn't a coincidence, everybody. He then went back on Terry Wogan in 2006. Now, he had also been on Terry Wogan a third time. I can't remember the year of that. I think it was before 1991. But anyway, he went back on in 2006, the year that I moved from Kent to Dorset. All right. When I was trying to establish what was going on, I was directed into David Icke, and I had an interview with his son Gareth Icke. It was very rushed. It was 15 minutes. He looked quite uneasy. On the back of that, I requested an interview with David Icke. Didn't hear anything back. As I was doing as I continued my evidence gathering, I found that David Icke was very quickly linked to the Hackler International Advisory Board, which links to me via the Company's House Records, via Ingenious Film Partners 2, which links to Terminator 2 Judgment Day, that came out in 1991, the year that he said what he said. Hackler International Advisory Board company was started up by the intelligence agencies and links to the Russian government, and it's also on page 40 of the Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales, which, as I've said, connects to me and links to the royal family. And that company was created 55 years to the day after the foundation of CERN on the 29th of September 2009. Anyway, I found him linked to this, and drug reference companies, including Opium, very quickly linked to him, Opium UK and other companies. So I started publicising this, saying, look, David Icke is linked into this, here's the evidence, talking about the evidence. And someone came on to the live stream and said, you can't be saying that about David Icke, slander, etc., or words to that effect. I said, well, look, get him to interview me then. He's refusing to interview me. They said they would, never heard from him ever since. And I've now found loads more evidence. There is no dinosaur reference in the Bible, only giants, someone says. Thank you. Barbara Cam, born 1931. Is she still alive? No, I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. She may not have ever been a real person. Remember, no verification. So you've got to consider that loads of these names being used are not even real. What's for you won't go past you, someone said. You related to Assange? No, not related. Connected through the Company's House Records. Multiple via all three of my families. And he was linked to a doomsday cult in Australia called the Family, which is very relevant. And they were linked to property in Kent, which is in where I was born. Thank you, local head. Hopefully I'll mention that on David Icke. Me. Missed that, then you need to rethink your YouTube. Not too sure what you mean by that. Am I an actor working for them? What do you think? I'm saying they all need to be arrested. Of course I'm not. Are we still expecting gravitation loss in 2 days? Martin, thanks for your question. I don't know. Look, I hope it's... Do I hope it's symbolic? I hope the Creator intervenes in this, if I'm being honest with you, somehow. I hope the Creator intervenes. I suspect nothing's going to happen physically, and it is a symbolic catalyst to the truth. But I don't know that for sure because there's so much evidence around the date. Voice is your greatest weapon, Gary. Thanks very much, local head. Gary, you shouldn't live near here. Blend in with our off-grid travellers. Thank you very much, local head. Do you want a candle? No, it's because I'm not by my tent at the moment, so I haven't got. Well, I have in my bag, but I really need to head off because I've still got to go a little way yet. But disappointed off maps, island near island. But disappeared off maps, island near island. Sorry, not too sure. I'm presuming you're talking about Iona. I don't know. I mentioned Iona, which is an island off the coast of Scotland. Where St. Columba was exiled from Ireland, the main island, to Iona, according to the research. They changed the name to confuse people like this. They're not looking up the 7 assemblies. They're not looking up the 7 assemblies in Revelation. They're already on Earth, someone's put. Have you looked into Bill Cooper? No, I haven't. I don't even know who Bill Cooper is, to be honest with you. I apologise. No. Were any of those years 1,000 years of peace, and we are now post-tribulation, aka Devil's Playground? Yeah, I've been thinking about the timings, Poppy. It's possible that it's changing all of the time. You know, if, of course, if that element of the scripture is even real, and the things that we've been led to believe are even, you know, real in all of this. It's looking as though we could be at the end of the tribulation, potentially, with the evidence that I've got. If that's the case, then most people believe in, if it's Christian scripture, that there is then 1,000 years of peace, I believe, and then there is Satan's little season at the end of that, when the devil returns for a brief period, and then the end of earth, I believe, in fire and brimstone. So if the scripture is real with all of that, it's looking to me like we may be at the end of tribulation, the end of the tribulation side of things. And they are potentially trying to recreate that through the fires that we're seeing, through the earthquakes, and through the other stuff that we are seeing going on at the moment. Because that would mean, if that's the case and the timing is right about tribulation, then that would take us back to 2019 being the beginning of the tribulation. Well, so we had this obviously big event in 2019 in December. The outbreak began, and it speculates there should be 3.5 years of peace, followed by 3.5 years of, great tribulation, which is almost chaos, I suppose, or conflicts, etc. And then the return of the Christ at the end of that period. Now, next year you've got the Resurrection of the Christ movie coming out. Mel Gibson's implicated in the criminal network. He's tied into the centralized criminal system, and he's produced the movie The Resurrection of the Christ next year. So I would think there's going to be some relevance to the timing of that, which, that suggests that hopefully nothing catastrophic is going to happen in August. However, I believe the timeline could change. Things could change continuously through the exposure of the evidence. I believe that's very likely happening with this evidence being exposed. Gary's strategy of what to read out is on my TikTok in a photo. Yes, thank you very much, Lisa, 1972. You can go and look at Lisa's TikTok, or you can get my document on the Telegram channel, Gary for Freedom. Gary for Freedom. Scroll up a little bit and you'll see a document with a number. I think it's 0506 2026 main evidential research document. Go on there with the strategies within the document. You can search that document. If you type in the strategies, you'll be able to find the section where the strategies are within that document. I'm going to be heading off soon, Mike. David Icke is part of the centralised criminal system. He's linked into it. He's not exposing it. Right? Anyone that's not exposing it and they're actually linked into it, I'm sorry, when they know what's going on with it, or what appears to be going on, then they need to be speaking out, and he's not. Any response of Lauren the Insider, Gary? No. Not as far as I'm aware. I need to go through my emails, but because I've just looked, because there's a couple of things I'm keeping an eye out for, but I'm not actually specifically going in and reading lots of emails, because I just haven't got time at the moment. Someone's put, the Bible, Gary, my good human, you should click my page, genuinely. Okay, thanks, Carl. I'll have a look. Let me screenshot that. Dinosaurs never existed, whereas dragons did, someone's put. I need to talk to explain when dragons started to be called dinosaurs in the Oxford Dictionary. Someone's put vampires used sarcophagus to extend life through demonic activities. Okay. There's a lot of evidence in relation to the blood and the extension as well. There's actual articles where they've said that they practically got the ability for immortality through the transfusion of blood. Yeah, I agree. Mikey Valentine's put, dinosaurs go with the Darwin's theory, which is a total load of crap. I agree. I don't believe the theory of evolution. You've actually got Charles Darwin's Trust, a company linked immediately to Ghislaine Maxwell. And that is shown on the incorporation document for Jewish Community Centre UK. Why would you have a genuine Jewish belief system or a company that is set up around Jewish belief having a legal and financial connection to the theory of evolution that connects immediately to Ghislaine Maxwell and the royal family via it? Are you drained? Someone's put. Yes, it's very tiring. It is very tiring, this. Just because it's just a constant evidence gathering. What do I do next? Trying to think of other strategies at the moment. I can't think of anything else other than what I've already got. It is draining. It is draining. Yeah, I will get some rest. Thanks very much, local head. They do tell you truths in movies regularly. Oh, the connections through to the movies are massive. You will see in the evidence I'm publicising, there's lots of references to movies as I go through the evidence, tying into me and Harrison Ford, and linking into Princess Elvina Pallavicini, and how that ties into, it seems, the bloodline of Christ in this, linking in with me and my families. Oh, Lisa put, are we going to die? I don't know. What I can say to you is you have nothing to fear if you're on the right side of this. You have nothing to fear if you are on the right side of this. Someone's put, I think the fires are on purpose. Someone's put the false Messiah is Jesus Christ. I'm not so sure about that. And the reason that is because moral conscience, as I keep saying, you know, I go on about this all the time, it's been ingrained through Christianity, through the, it looks like the Ten Commandments, that looks like they've been moved to be preserved to stop that ingrainment within humanity from disappearing completely. It looks as though somebody has protected that. that love thy neighbour and thou shalt not kill is, I believe, the most important element that's been preserved through Christ, or through the symbology of Christ, if you like. So I'm not so sure. And don't forget, you've got the link into the bloodlines hidden by the Knights Templar tying in with Christ, and how that is now tying into all of this evidence. So I suspect, and don't forget, you've got the information where they're trying to, it seems to be, they're trying to destroy Christianity, and that is linked into Satanism. Why would they be wanting to destroy Christ and Christianity? Why is it that Coca-Cola, and I've actually verified some of this, why is it that on a Coca-Cola can you can put the devil is good, you can put other faiths, oh, oh, what's happened there? How do I get rid of that? Sorry, I've just put like a split screen thing on my phone. I don't know how to get it off. How do I get that off? No. How do I get that off? Oh, I'm going to head off anyway now. But what was just quickly, why is it, and I've verified some of this, I haven't gone into too much of it. If you go onto the Coca-Cola website to create a name on a can, they are restricting you putting things about Christ or Jesus that is good, but they are allowing every other religious entity. Why would they be doing that? These are those behind the centralized criminal system that are linked into Satanism. Why would Satanism, why would the Church of Satan be so opposed to Christ but not other religious groups and entities? Why would they do that, everybody? All right, it's a big question. There's only one answer, isn't it? They know that that is the greatest threat to evil. That's very likely the case. And what I am exposing and how that links in with moral conscience, and through that is how I'm actually doing what I'm doing. If it wasn't through having an understanding of Christ and the importance of moral conscience through Christ, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have been able to achieve what I've done. I wouldn't have been able to obtain this evidence. I would not have been able to get to this level of exposure that I have, and still be functioning, still be motivated, still be committed, still be positive, and here I am. So I would be very, very cautious of dismissing Christ completely in all of this. That's what they want. That is what they want. So read into that what you will. Of course, you have free will to believe or not believe in whatever you want. Of course, that's free will is very important on earth for all of us. But just be very cautious as to what you think about Christ in all of this. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. Sorry about my red face. And I'll keep an eye on my TikToks. I'm going to be putting some of the evidence on there tomorrow. And I'm going to be doing a video on the showing the evidence. And I'll try, I don't know if I'll get it out by the 12th, try and get the evidence out in relation to the firmament and the other things that I've found as well. And there's loads of other subjects I haven't even mentioned that I've done research on. It's already building, and that's there as well. So yeah, thanks very much, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Sleep well if you're in the United Kingdom. It's 12 o'clock here. And if you haven't just starting your day, have a good day. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.